It all started with a camera, not an expensive, high-end DSLR that professional photographers brag about. Not a flashy phone camera that promised perfect selfies with filters. Just a small, ordinary-looking digital camera, sleek, black, almost unremarkable. Yet, the moment I held it, a shiver ran down my spine. Something about it felt off, like it was waiting, watching. I found it in a thrift store tucked between dusty books and broken electronics. The clerk didn't know much about it. He shrugged and said it had been traded in. I didn't think twice. I had been looking for a cheap camera for weekend trips, and this one seemed perfect. I slid it into my bag, unaware that it carried more than just lenses and memory cards. The first night I brought it home, I cleaned it carefully, wiped the smudges off the screen, and clicked through the settings. Everything seemed normal. No scratches, no signs of damage, and it powered on without complaint. But when I tried to take a picture of my living room, something strange happened. The flash fired, the shutter clicked, but the image that appeared on the screen wasn't what I had captured. At first, I thought it was a glitch. The photo showed my living room, yes, but there was a shadowy figure in the corner, crouched and staring. Its face was hidden, but its presence was unmistakable. My heart skipped a beat. I spun around, nothing. The room was empty. I laughed nervously, telling myself it must be some digital distortion. Maybe the camera sensor was faulty. But the shadow in the photo didn't move. It didn't flicker. It didn't disappear. Curiosity mixed with unease. I started testing the camera, taking pictures of empty rooms, the street outside, even myself in the mirror. Each photo had something, small at first. A flicker behind the curtains, a figure standing just beyond the frame, always watching, always waiting. And no matter how I turned, no matter how I checked, nothing was ever there in reality. Then came the night I realized it wasn't just showing me ghosts or glitches. It was showing me a warning. A memory of something that hadn't happened yet. I took a picture of my kitchen, planning to post it online. When I checked the screen, the photo showed me slumped on the floor, blood pooling beneath me, eyes wide open in terror. I froze. My hands shook. I knew I wasn't hurt. My kitchen was spotless, the lights steady, nothing amiss, but the camera had captured an image of my death. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a trick of my mind. Maybe I'd seen a news photo online or a movie scene, and my brain had superimposed it onto the image. But no. I took another picture, this time in the bathroom. Again, there I was in the photo, alone, lying lifeless on the floor. The pattern was impossible, terrifyingly precise. Sleep became impossible. I didn't dare cover the camera or put it away. Something about leaving it out, powered on, made it more potent. I started noticing little details. The battery never drained, no matter how much I used it. The memory card never filled, and each time I deleted a photo, it reappeared, perfectly clear, almost as if the camera remembered things I didn't want to remember. Friends started noticing my obsession. "It's just a camera," they said. "You're imagining things." But they hadn't seen what I saw. They hadn't stared at a photo where their own death stared back at them. I couldn't explain it. and I didn't want to. The feeling of dread was constant, gnawing at my chest like some invisible claw. By the third week, I realized one terrifying truth. The camera didn't just capture moments. It captured inevitabilities. Every shot, every frame, was a puzzle piece of the future. And each picture brought me closer to an event I didn't want but couldn't escape. The shadows in the corner, the twisted reflections, the blurred shapes, they weren't random. They were instructions, signs, warnings. And the scariest part? I didn't know if ignoring it would save me or hasten the end. The camera had its own rules, its own logic. One thing was certain, it had chosen me. I wanted to throw it away, smash it, burn it. But even as I held it in my hands, I couldn't. Something stopped me. It was as if the camera itself had a grip on my mind, cold and unyielding. I knew then that my life would never be the same. I was tethered to it now. And what it had shown me in those early, innocent photos was only the beginning. It happened on a rainy Thursday. I had been avoiding the camera for hours, leaving it on my desk like a dark artifact I didn't dare touch. The storm outside was relentless, pounding the windows and rattling the walls. Lightning flashed, illuminating the room in brief, harsh bursts. That's when I heard it, a soft, almost imperceptible click. The camera had taken a picture on its own. I froze. My heart hammered against my ribs. I approached it cautiously, as if it might lash out, and lifted the screen. The image made my blood run cold. It was me, but not as I was. My face was twisted in terror, eyes wide, mouth open in a scream I hadn't made. Behind me, a figure stood, impossibly tall, with limbs that seemed to stretch and bend in ways no human body should. Its face was obscured by shadows, but the eyes, if they could be called eyes, glimmered like black holes. They fixed on me in the photo, unblinking, and I could feel its gaze even in the real world. I stumbled back. The storm roared louder, as if echoing the panic that gripped me. My rational mind screamed that it was impossible, that it had to be a trick of the camera or a double exposure. But deep down, I knew. The camera wasn't showing me what existed. It was showing me what would. I tried to turn the camera off, pressed every button, pulled out the battery. Nothing. It sat there, alive, humming softly, almost as if it were breathing. And then a second photo appeared on the screen, one I hadn't taken. This time, it was outside my apartment, taken from the hallway. My door was slightly ajar. I was standing in the doorway, frozen, staring back at something that loomed behind me. The figure from before was closer, sharper now, its shadow stretching unnaturally along the walls. I could feel the distance between us shrinking, even though I was alone in my apartment. The fear was visceral. I couldn't look away. I had to see what came next, though every part of me screamed to drop the camera and run. And that's when I noticed the subtle details, the unnatural bend of the fingers, the way the shadows seemed to pulse, almost breathing. Every photo was more precise, more deliberate. Every image made it clear that this entity wasn't random. It was calculating, patient, and it was coming for me. Sleep became impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the photo replayed in my mind, over and over. And every time I blinked, I imagined it closer, closer. I couldn't tell the difference between what the camera showed and what my imagination conjured. My reflection in the mirror became a source of dread. I could swear the eyes in the photos were sometimes behind my own, watching, waiting. I stopped going outside. I stopped answering calls. I stopped talking to friends. The world outside felt too real, too dangerous, compared to the shadowed, twisted reality the camera had unveiled. The thing wasn't bound by walls or doors. It was bound by the lens. And it knew where I was. Finally, in a desperate act of self-preservation, I tried to destroy it. I slammed it on the floor. The screen cracked, wires splayed, battery dislodged. For a moment, I felt relief. But that relief was short-lived. When I looked again, the screen flickered, dimly, almost imperceptibly, and the first photo appeared, clearer than ever. The figure was closer. Its gaze pinned me to the spot, and I realized, with a sickening certainty, that no physical act could stop it. That was the first time I truly glimpsed the unseen. The camera had shown me a future I couldn't change, a death I couldn't escape, and the figure in every frame was patient. It didn't rush. It didn't falter. It simply waited, knowing I would be powerless when the moment finally came. From that day on, every photograph I took, every snapshot of myself, of my apartment, of empty streets outside, was tinged with terror. Every image held a secret I wasn't meant to see. And deep down, I knew that the next glimpse wouldn't be another warning. It would be the beginning. After that first terrifying glimpse, I became hyper-aware of every little sign around me. Ordinary things that once seemed meaningless began to take on a sinister significance. A creaking floorboard, a shadow at the corner of my eye, the way my reflection sometimes lingered a fraction too long in the mirror. All of it screamed that the entity wasn't just confined to the camera. It was everywhere, and it was patient. The signs started small. My keys disappeared only to reappear in impossible places. The freezer, the bathtub, even hanging from the ceiling fan one morning. At first, I laughed nervously, chalking it up to absent-mindedness. But then came the scratches on the walls. Thin, deliberate lines, like fingernails scoring blood. I had never noticed them before, and yet they were fresh each morning, almost as if someone, or something, was tracing my presence while I slept. It wasn't just the apartment, either. Outside, things shifted subtly. I would pass a street light, and for a second, the illumination would bend, shadows stretching unnaturally across the pavement. People walking nearby sometimes froze mid-step, staring past me as if they were seeing something behind me I couldn't. And every time I checked the photos on the camera, a new detail would appear. A figure standing across the street, eyes glowing in a reflection, a hand pressed lightly against the glass, even though no one was there. One evening, I noticed something that terrified me more than anything else. My reflection in the darkened living room window didn't match my movements. I lifted my arm, and in the glass, the arm stayed still. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was enough to break me. The entity was no longer just in the camera. It was learning me, mimicking me, preparing. Then came the dreams. They started subtly at first. Images of shadows, distorted corridors, glimpses of the figure standing silently in the corner. But soon, they became detailed, vivid nightmares. I could feel the cold touch of its hands, hear the rasping whisper of breath against my ear. In the dreams, I could see myself lying lifeless on the floor, exactly as the camera had shown. Every morning, I woke drenched in sweat, clutching the camera as if it were my only shield. Friends tried to help, but I couldn't explain. They couldn't see what I saw, and even if I showed them the photos, they didn't understand. To them, it was just a strange camera. To me, it was a countdown, a window into a death I couldn't escape. And the more I tried to ignore it, the more insistent the signs became. A single day would be enough to drive anyone insane. The persistent dripping of water from a leaky pipe became a countdown. Every shadow in the hallway felt like a step closer. Even my own movements became suspect. I couldn't tell if I was truly walking, or if something invisible mirrored every step I took. I began leaving marks, trying to track the entity. Chalk on the floor, tape on the walls. Nothing worked. The scratches reappeared, erased the tape, bent around the chalk. It was as if it was playing a game, daring me to confront it. And I knew the game had rules I didn't understand, but breaking them wouldn't help. If anything, it would only speed up what was coming. One day, I took a photo of the living room while I was out, just to see what the camera would reveal. When I checked the image, I saw it, my own body, lying prone on the floor, eyes wide open in fear. And standing above me, impossibly close, was the figure. Closer than ever before. Its presence wasn't subtle now. It was bold. It was patient. And it was preparing to finish what it had started. Every sign, every detail, every shadow screamed the same thing. I was being hunted. And no matter what I did, no matter where I went, the entity was already here, waiting, learning, calculating. By now, the camera had become a curse I couldn't escape. I didn't even need to hold it anymore. The moment I glanced at a reflective surface, I could feel it watching. Every photo I took, every snapshot of an empty room or an unassuming street, revealed it. The shadow, always there, always closer. It began subtly, a hint of darkness at the edge of the frame, almost like a trick of the light. But soon, it grew bolder. In pictures of my apartment, it loomed near doorways, hunched in corners. In street photos, it appeared behind lampposts, stretching across walls like a smear of smoke. No matter how careful I was, no matter how I adjusted angles or lighting, it always appeared. Every frame a reminder that nothing in my life was safe. I started documenting it, printing every photo, lining them across the floor, tracing the shadow's movement. Each one told a story. At first, it was distant, as if observing from the margins. Then it inched closer, almost playful in its patience. lurking just behind a chair, hovering over a window ledge. And finally, it began to imitate me. In one frame, it lifted a hand when I raised mine. In another, it tilted its head when I blinked. The camera wasn't just showing me the future. It was training me, preparing me, locking me in a frame I couldn't escape. I stopped sleeping. Every creak in the apartment sounded like footsteps. Every gust of wind against the window sounded like it brushing against the door. And every photo I took brought it closer. I began to notice patterns. The shadow always moved slightly between shots, almost imperceptibly, but the progression was clear. Day by day, photo by photo, it crept toward me. One evening, desperate for answers, I took the camera to the roof of my building. I pointed it at the empty street below, hoping to capture it from a distance. The photo developed, and my blood ran cold. There it was, standing in the middle of the street, taller than ever, impossibly dark against the dim city lights. Its head tilted toward me, observing, calculating. The city around it appeared normal, bustling with people, oblivious. But I knew the truth. No one else could see it. No one else would ever see it. I tried to reason. Maybe it wasn't real. Maybe it was some manifestation of my fear. But logic fell apart under the weight of the photos. In each frame, it grew more defined, more menacing. Its shape shifted, limbs stretching unnaturally. Its presence became suffocating, pressing through the lens, almost tangible. Then came the realization that made my blood run ice cold. The shadow didn't just exist in photos. It existed between them, in the spaces I couldn't capture. It moved when the camera was off, watched when I wasn't looking. Every corner I turned, every hallway I walked, every reflective surface I passed, it was there. Always there. Waiting for the moment I would finally notice it without the safety of the lens. I began to talk to it, whispering into the empty apartment, trying to bargain, to plead. Stay in the photo. Stay there. Don't touch me. It never answered, never moved in response to words, but I swear I felt its presence recoil at my voice, just slightly, almost as if it understood. I stopped taking photos altogether, hoping to slow its approach. But the shadow didn't need the camera to track me anymore. It had learned the rhythm of my life. It had memorized my movements, anticipated my actions. And in every frame I had taken in the past weeks, it had been practicing, rehearsing, growing stronger with every shot. Every photo was now a battlefield, every frame a warning. It was not just a shadow. It was a predator, and I was its prey. It all came to a head on a night when the storm returned, fierce and unrelenting, rattling my windows and shaking the walls. The apartment felt alive, almost anticipating what was about to happen. Every shadow seemed deeper, darker, more deliberate. Every flicker of light seemed to pulse with intention. And the camera sat on the table, silent but omnipotent, as if it knew the moment had arrived. I couldn't avoid it any longer. I knew the shadow had followed me through every frame, every corner, every crevice of my life. I tried to hide, to barricade myself, but instinct told me there was no running. It was patient. It had been preparing, waiting for me to understand the truth. I couldn't escape. I picked up the camera, trembling. The screen flickered on its own, displaying a single image. It was my apartment, exactly as it was now. But there was something new, a dark figure looming directly behind me, impossibly tall, impossibly silent. Its head tilted slightly, almost curious, almost amused. I turned slowly, my heart hammering, and the room was empty. Yet I could feel its presence pressing against my back, cold and suffocating. The flash of the camera went off, illuminating the apartment in brief, harsh light. For a fraction of a second, I saw it, the figure, real and tangible, standing where the photo had shown. Its eyes, black and endless, locked onto mine. The air thickened. Every breath was a struggle. I dropped the camera, but it didn't move. It didn't need to. I had already seen too much. I had already accepted too much. And then I understood. The photos were never warnings. They were invitations. Each image had been pulling me closer to this exact moment, teaching me the inevitability of what was coming. I had watched myself in the frames, frozen in terror, powerless. And now, the frames and reality were merging. I tried to run, but my legs felt like lead. My arms wouldn't obey. The shadow glided toward me with a horrifying, effortless grace, each movement precise, deliberate, like a predator savoring the final seconds before the kill. I could feel its cold breath brush against my neck, though no air moved. I thought of everything I had ignored, the small signs, the scratches, the whispers in my dreams. Every warning, every detail, every subtle shift had been pointing to this exact moment. I could no longer pretend. I could no longer rationalize. I was exactly where the camera had shown me I would be, cornered, helpless, facing the inevitable. Then it reached out. Its form seemed to ripple, tendrils of darkness stretching, enveloping the room. My scream echoed off the walls, but no sound escaped. And just as I felt its presence descend upon me, the flash from the fallen camera went off one final time. I closed my eyes, expecting the end. When I opened them, everything was still. The storm had passed. The apartment was quiet. The camera lay cracked and powerless on the floor. And yet, deep down, I knew it wasn't over. The shadow didn't vanish. It was simply waiting for the next frame, for the next moment when the lens would betray me again. I realized the terrifying truth. Some things can't be run from, can't be destroyed, can't be ignored. The shadow waits in the spaces between reality and reflection, in the corners of photos we don't take, in the frames of moments we can't control. And one day, if the camera chooses, it will catch me again. I don't know if it's gone for good, or if it's simply patient. But I do know this. I will never, ever look at a camera the same way again. Because some images are meant to remain unseen, and some deaths are already captured, waiting for the final frame. The camera may be silent now, but it's only waiting. And the next time it clicks, It could be the last.